Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System, and we're going to make a bracelet today. We're going to make a focal bracelet. It's slightly embellished with a highly embellished chain. It's not going to be hard or difficult. It's going to be very repetitive, and once you get the technique, you just do it over and over and over again until your chain is complete. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to use our usual tools, our round nose pliers. The barrels are round all the way around, and they taper up larger at the hilt and smaller at the tip. Then we have our flat nose pliers that are also slightly rounded on the outside, but they're completely flat on the inside. If you buy these in the store or order them online, make sure you check to see what the specifications are and get some that are flat on the inside with no ridges or no grips. Otherwise, that will mar your wire when you're working with it. The third thing that we want is a pair of wire cutters. It can be flush cutters. It can be any kind of wire cutters that you want. This is the kind that I'm using. They will all do the same thing for this particular project. And you need a ruler to measure your wire. We're using 20 gauge wire for the entire piece and one focal bead. I have no idea what this is, but I just thought it was pretty, so that's what I'm using. There's a lawnmower going outside that I hope you can't hear, but let's get going because this is the first sunshiny day I've had in a while, and I am taking advantage of the natural light. So let's get down here and get started. Okay, I'm using copper wire, and I'm going to start with our focal piece, and I need 5 inches of wire for what I want to do. So I'm going to measure out 5 inches. And I'm going to grab my focal and I'm going to slide it on my wire. I just want to go down to the center. Again, lawnmower, very loud. I hope you can't hear it. I'm talking loud over it. Anyway, go down here to the center of my wire. I'm just eyeballing it. And I'm going to put a bend in one side. I'm going to take that off, put a bend in it. Shorter side is going out at a right angle to the longer side. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to slide the wire right in between the prongs of my pliers about 1/3 of the way down from the tip. Not quite half, about 1/3 of the way, because that's the size that I want my loop to be. It doesn't have to be huge, but it will be consistent with the loops that are in the rest of my chain. So I'm going to bring the wire over the top of my pliers and down the side, like so, until it's running parallel with the rest of the wire. Then I'm going to hold on to the wire, don't let it shift, open up my pliers, reposition them, and clamp back down and bring the wire, there we go, bring the wire the rest of the way under my pliers like so until I have a loop. Now I can see my loop is listing a little bit over to the side. I want it to be right here centered on top of my long wire. So I'm going to put my pliers back in and rotate my loop until it's right in the center of my long wire. Then I'm going to reposition my little short tail until it's out to the side again. And that's what I have. I want to make sure that I have that little bend in there that I like. There we go. So it's all ready to wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and give it one wrap. I'm going to hold on to the face of my loop and wrap my wire around one time as close to the pliers as I can get. There we go. Very nice. Then I'm going to slide my bead back on. Okay. I'm going to bend my wire off to the side again. just like I did with the other side. I'm going to bend it to the side. Grab my round nose pliers. And slide my wire down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers again. Bring that wire tail over the top of my pliers and down the side of my bead. Then I'm going to hold on to my bead and my wire. Keep that in place. Reposition my pliers and bring that wire the rest of the way around between my bead and my loop. And again, I'm going to rotate just a little bit until that loop is resting on top of my bead. So I don't want it to rotate too much. Here we go. Maybe a little tiny bit more, just to rotate that. There. Very nice. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap that around one time, just like I did on the other side. Nice and snug. There we go. Now what I'm going to do now is make a little loop. I'm going to wrap it one more time around. And one more half time around this. I wrapped it a half time around, and then we'll wrap it a half time around on the other side. And there we go. So now I have about 1 inch of wire sticking out on this side. This one's a little longer, so I think I'll flip that off until they're both the same size. Snip that off. There we go. Get rid of that little tail. And now I'm just going to make a little spiral. Where do I want my spiral to go? I think I'm just going to make a little spiral on the top and on the bottom. I was going to make it up here at the top, but I think I am going to put it on top of my bead. Just a little spiral, not something that will take too much away from the beauty of this bead, but I just want a little bit of embellishment. So what I'm going to do is take my round nose pliers. I'm going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. I'm going to make a small loop. Just rotate that around in small turns until I have a little 3/4 loop, and then I'm going to bring it around the rest of the way, like so. And then I'm going to keep wrapping that loop around itself. Where's my camera? Make sure you can see what I'm doing. I think I'm going to bring this down a little closer. Okay, so I'm going to keep wrapping the wire around itself, like so. See what I'm doing there? Just a little more until I have a nice little spiral right here on top of my bead. Pretty. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. It's free form, so it might not look exactly the same, but let's do it as closely as I can. Again, make a little loop. I only go 3/4 of the way around. I don't want it to get too tight against the loop. A little bit closer until it's almost touching. And then I'm going to continue to wrap until I have a spiral. And I'm just wrapping the wire around itself. Push that down. And continue to wrap until I have my nice little spiral. I'm going to push that over a little bit closer to center. There we go. Straighten out my little bail at the top. Adjust it to where I want it. Yeah, a little bit further over. Yeah, a little bit more of a spiral. There we go. A little tighter. And there we have it. Nice little spiraled centerpiece. Not too much, not too little. It's not taking over the pattern of my bead. Just enough to embellish it. Just a tad. Very pretty. So that is my centerpiece for my bracelet. Now what we're going to do is make a wrapped infinity link with a spiral. So for that, I need 3 inches of wire. Okay, there we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go right here in the center. Just going to eyeball it. And go back again about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, just like I did with the loop on top of my center, my focal bead. I'm going to bring the wire a little bit further down. There we go. Bring the one half of the wire over the top of my pliers and around until it's under the 2 prongs. So now I have that loop. Then I'm going to go under that loop. If you forget how far back you were, just go ahead and slide that in. I'm going to go under that loop and bring the other side around and over and over to the opposite loop. So now I have both of my wires on top of my loops side by side. I want to adjust it until they're sitting side by side. Like so. So they're my two little wires. So now what I'm going to do is make a little loop that's going to sit right here in the center of my larger loop. And it needs to be nice and small. I only need about a half an inch of wire for that. So I'm going to cut that down. Didn't need nearly as much as I said, but you're better off having too much than if you have too little. If you have too little, you have to start over. If you have too much, you can cut some off, just like I'm doing. Snip that off. And now I'm just going to make a little loop. Grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. I use my finger just for a little leverage here. Something to hold on to. And I'm just going to make a small loop. You just roll that right there in the center of my bigger loop. So there we are. So that's just it looks like a slight bit of a double. Sort of like a little spiral. And it's just a loop and a loop. But we're just putting them inside of each other. Okay, let's go to the other side and do the same thing. Tip of my plier with the tip of my wires, my tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. Oh goodness, words are hard. And just make a little loop. And just keep on wrapping. Bring that loop all the way over. It's basically wrapping the wire around itself. And it's a tiny little piece of wire, so you're going to have to really hold on and bring that over. Just wrapping the wire around itself. I can see that I'm mooring the wire a little bit, but that is the name. That's sometimes what happens when you're using plated wire or coated wire, which I am. That's one of the reasons I really prefer to use bare copper instead of plated. And there is my little embellished infinity link. Isn't that the cutest thing ever? And it makes it really easy when you're using 20 gauge and you want to do an infinity link. You don't want to have to worry about strength. This is very strong because it gets work hardened and because of the overlapping effect of these spirals. So there's my little link. I'm going to attach it to my bead and to the rest of the links that I've already made. Very good. This one looks smaller than the rest. It really does. Oh, Virginia, look at that. It's smaller. What are we going to do about that? We're going to make another one. That's what. That's what. So we're going to make another one. See, I've had several of these already made. But let's make another. Okay, sorry about that. I had to stop for a bit. Now they're out there with the leaf blowers, and he's right up against my door, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So loud, I could hardly hear myself. Oh no, here he comes again. Sorry, they usually do this on Mondays, but yesterday was Veterans Day in the United States, so it's Tuesday, and well, anyway, I'm gonna make another one of these embellished infinity links. I need 3 inches for that. So let's cut that off. Remember I said I had too much more than I needed? Well, I didn't because I ended up making it too small. So I've got my little 3 inches. I'm going to go right here. If that guy comes by my door again with that leaf blower, I'm going to go right here. 2/3 of the way down. Oh my God. He's back. 2/3 of the way down my flyers. Oh my goodness. Almost half, but not quite. 2/3 of the way. I'm going to bring 1/2 of my wire over and around and under my pliers like so until I have a loop. Then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing with the other wire. Same spot on my pliers, bring it up and around and over the top. So now I have, let's bring that a little further. Here we go. Bring that over a little further. There we go. And both of my wires are on top of my loops and crossing, just bypassing each other. Okay, now I need to cut this down to about 1/2 inch so that I can make a small loop that will go inside of my larger loop. I'm still cutting off a lot of wire. Yeah. 1/2 inch. There we go. Snip that off. Same on the other side. Yeah, that's good. Snip that off. Get rid of the excess. And let's just make a little loop right there on the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. Make a tiny little loop. There. It goes right on the inside of my bigger loop. And do the same thing on the other side. Tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. You can use your finger for leverage. Just hold it against there so that hopefully it won't slip as much when you're trying to get that first turn in. Okay. And you want to not pull too much on this wire, otherwise you'll pull your little loop closed. And that's probably how I ended up with a loop that was with a link that was smaller than the others. I may have pulled on it too much. Okay, settle that right in my other loop. Push that down. And there's my little embellished loop. And you can see this one looks a little bit smaller, so I'm going to open that up a little bit. There we go. There we go. Nice. You can call this an S or infinity. I call it infinity because of the way it looks, except that even though the ends aren't meeting. Very pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to make the infinity link that's going to link them together. It's like this. Then you take this one off. Put that to the side. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to, I need about an inch of wire to make my little infinity link. I'm leaving, oh, you know what? Here we go. Perfect. Now I can put that little piece to work. I don't have to lose it. I was going to go ahead and cut some more wire, but why? That's why if you have too much and you have enough that you can use again, that's always, I love that. Okay, so I have my little inch of wire for my infinity link. I'm going to slide down about 1/8 of an inch. And you can measure it if you want, or about, this is more like 1/4 of an inch from the tip, because I don't need too big a link. I wanted this to be very delicate looking, even though it's very, very strong. So I'm going to go down about 1/4 of an inch from the tip. The tip of my wire should be right in between the pliers. I don't want it sticking out. Then I'm going to make a loop. Oh, get back in there. Make a little loop. There we go. Now I'm going to make a loop on the other side. I want to make sure that's completely closed. Good. Then I'm going to go down here to the bottom and make a loop on the other side. It's the reason I say it's easier to do it off the spool, because this is a tiny little piece of wire. And it's easier if I have something to hold on to. But it will work. Just be very patient with yourself. Bring that around. And there's my other loop. Nice. Let's cut that off. And I want to cut it off right inside the loop. Here we go. Get rid of that tip. Squeeze that closed. And there's my little infinity link that I'm going to use to hook everything together. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my little link here. So I'm going to open that up just like you would open a jump ring. You don't want to pull the ends apart. You want to flip it up, sort of like you're doing a flip top. Just like that. And I'm going to slide my S hook in side of the other loop. And you can do this one of two ways. If you have space to put it in between the loop and the larger loop, do that. Otherwise, squeeze those together and hook that through both of those loops. I need to open it a little bit more, Virginia. Open it up some more. Slide that on and close it. There we go. Make sure it's completely closed. The tip running up against the back of the wire. Nice. And now I'm going to attach it to the other links that I have here already made. Now, be aware of the fact that this is kind of directional. If you have your wires inside, then it doesn't make any difference. But if you have your wire on top, you want to make sure that they're all looking the same. Okay, so let's grab another, here it is, another one of my little links. Slide that on. Is it open wide enough? Yes. Slide that on and close it up. Go to the other side and do the same thing. Open that up. Slide it on. And get in there. Doesn't want to go. But you must. You're part of the design. You must go on there. There we go. And close it. There. And there's my little chain on one side. And there's my little chain for the other side. Yay! And there's my centerpiece. Okay, so let's put it all together. Let's put it all together. Okay, that's already open. So let's just slide that closed loop inside the open infinity link. Close it up. Okay, and the same thing on the other side. Open my little link up. And slide that on. And close. Very nice. Told you this wouldn't be hard. It's repetitive. You're going to do the same chain and same infinity link all the way down until you have your chain made. And look at that. Isn't that lovely? Okay, so now we're going to make a clasp, a hook, and a loop clasp that continues the piece. We're going to go ahead and put a spiral on both of those so it doesn't look any different than the rest of the bracelet, except that it's functional. I like clasps like that. I just think they make the piece look just that much nicer. Okay, so for the loop, I need 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches. For the hook, I need 4 inches. All right. Okay. So for my loop, I'm going to go down about 1 inch. This is going to be the loop that's going to attach to the rest of the bracelet. So it doesn't need to be that big. So I need about 1 inch of wire. I'm going to bend it back. So I have a short tail, slide my pliers under the wire, one on top, one on the bottom. Now, make sure that this wire is sticking out to the side. I see people going in this little corner over here, and that's not going to have the effect that you want. You want it under and over the short tail, just like that. Then you're going to bring that short tail of wire over the top of the pliers and down the side, like so. And then I'm going to hold on to both of those pieces of wire, open my pliers, reposition them, and bring that short tail under my wire until I have a loop. So that's what I have. My little guy with the scarf on the side. I'm going to straighten that out to the side there. So I have my little guy, and now I'm going to grab my flat pliers, hold on to the face of my wire, and wrap the tail of my wire, the short tail, around 1 time. I just need 1 wrap around to secure my loop. And it's a very short tail because I don't want to waste any more wire. Come on. There we go. So now I can cut that little tip off. Let's cut that off. And push this little end down. Where's the end? There it is. Push the little end down till it's resting against the long wire, not sticking up where it can do any damage. There we go. So now I'm going to make a loop on the other side. And I'm going to go down about 1/4 of an inch away from the wrap on the other loop. I'm going to bend my wire over to the side again, just like that. Bring in my round nose pliers, slide one of the plier prongs under. One is under, one is over. Again, I'm making sure that my wire is sticking out the side and I'm not in the corner here like that. So I'm going to slide my wire back almost to the back, about 3/4 of the way back, because this loop needs to be bigger so that the hook can go into it. So I'm going to bring the tail of my wire over the top, down the side, like so. Hold on to the loop and the rest of my wire, open up my pliers, reposition them, clamp back down, and bring my wire the rest of the way under until I have a loop. You do such a good job there. There we go. Now I have my loop. There we go. And now I'm going to grab my square pliers again, hold on to the face, and wrap. I'm just going to do enough wraps that there's no bare wire showing. I think that's going to be about 3 wraps around. And there we go. It's going to be covered, so it doesn't really have to be too precise. Here we go. Let's cover that up. Squeeze those wires together. And now I'm going to make a little bit of a loop. Now, I am looking at that thinking, I should have given myself more wire. So what I'm going to do is take this 4-inch piece of wire that I know is going to be too big, but I want to make a little spiral on top, and I want more than this little 1/2 inch of wire. It might be enough. Let's try it, but I have a feeling that I am going to be redoing this because it's going to be a little less embellished than I want. I'm going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. Okay. Start my loop. Just a tiny little loop. Bring that around. Wrap the wire around itself. Until I have a little loop. And that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But you know me and my spirals. I want more loops. So I'm going to put that to the side, grab my 4-inch piece of wire, and I'm going to start again. So I'm going to go down here about 1 inch from the end, like I did before, bend it to the side, slide my wire down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, like I did with the others, bring it over the top, down the side, reposition, bring it all the way under until I have my loop. Let's roll that over a little bit because my loop looks like it's listing off to the side. And I want it nicely centered. There we go. Let's pick up my square pliers again. Wrap that little tail around my wire, right under my pliers. Let's grab my round nose pliers and finish the job. Well, this is very soft, so I could really push that around. But I wanted you to see what I was doing. And if I bring in the, yeah, you can see it. Okay. So just bring that the rest of the way around. And clip off that little tail. There's not much left, which is good. I don't want much left. Snip that off. Get rid of that little bit that I cut. And push down that little end. And I just follow the curve of my wire until the tip is resting against the stem. There we go. Set it down a little more. Okay. And now, yeah, I can see that this is a lot more than I need, but that's okay. Go down about 1/4 of an inch from my wrap. Bend my wire so that I have this over at a right angle. That's so much. 3.5 would have done it, I think. Slide my pliers down my wire, 1 prong on top, 1 prong on the bottom, all the way to almost the back, about 3/4 of the way back. Bring that wire over the top and down the side. Hold on to both pieces. rotate my pliers, bring the wire the rest of the way around. And this is what I have. Need to rotate a little bit more because it's not quite centered. Get over there. There we go. Now I have a centered loop. So now let's wrap that tail around that bare stem. Nice and close. Keep the wraps nice and close together. What was that? 2, 3, 4, and it just depends on how much stem you have. You don't have to count. There we go. Nice. And now I have plenty. I have a good inch here, and that will be plenty to make my little spiral. I don't want it to be overpowering, but I also don't want it to be so tiny that it doesn't resonate. Okay, so let's go ahead and make my little spiral. So I'm going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers again. Make a little loop. Tiny little loop in the center. And then I'm going to continue to rotate my wire around itself. There we go. Until I can't go any further with my round nose pliers. Make this nice and tight. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers and continue to wrap the wire around itself until I have a little spiral right here in the center of my wraps. Push that down till it's resting against the wraps. There we go. And there it is. There's my nice little wrapped hook clasp, or actually the loop part of my clasp. Yeah. Put that to the side and let's make the hook. Okay. Still really only need 4 inches for the hook too. So let's go ahead and measure that out. Oops, come on. I hope that's 4 inches. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is bend my wire. So I'm going to measure about 1.25 inches for my hook. Now, I'm measuring 1.25 inches. It depends on how big you want your hook to be. I want my hook to end up being about 1/2 inch. So 1.25 inches will do that for me. So I'm going to bend that over to the side and fold the wire down until it's running parallel to the long tail. Then I'm going to squeeze the tip, squeeze that close together, as close as I can get. And then I'm going to grab my square pliers and squeeze it the rest of the way. I just want these ends, these tails, to run parallel, as close together as I can get. And you're going to have to be patient with you because it's going to try to roll as you try to squeeze it. So just be very patient, tiny little squeezes, because you don't want it to roll or overlap. Just a little bit more, just a couple more millimeters, and it will be closed. It's really fighting. It's going, no, we don't want to be together. Leave us alone. Come on, stop it. There. A little more, a little bit more. I think that's good. There. Nice. I'll straighten my wire out. My two ends are side by side, the little two tails. And then I'm going to go down here to the bottom, about a ½ inch from the tip. I'm going to lift that wire up. So here are the two sides, side by side. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to lift, just bend that wire up the short tail. Then I'm going to grab my pliers, it's a little wavy up here, and I'm going to hold on to both of the tails of wire as close as I can get to where the bend is. And a trick that I've learned works really well is to bring the wire as close to the back as you can, because you have more grip there without having to hold it really tight. If you try to do it from here, it's going to wiggle around. But if you go back here where you have better grip without having to squeeze it too tightly, you have a little more leverage. So I'm going to go back there and wrap that little tip around the stem, the longer stem, as close as I can get to the pliers. Let's wrap that around, and I only need one wrap, just like I did with the loop. One wrap around. Then when I have my little wrap, cut off that tip. And push down that little bit that's on the end. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and make my loop. So I'm going to go down again like I did with the loop. I'm going to go down about 1/4 of an inch away from my wrap. Put a bend in. Grab my round nose pliers, slide them under that tail. About 1/3 of the way back. Doesn't have to be too big. You want it consistent with the other wraps. Bring that tail over the top and down the side. Reposition my pliers. And then bring the tail the rest of the way under the pliers. Okay, check my little loop. Nice. Rotate a little bit because it's a little off center. There we go. Bring in my square pliers and wrap around the stem. Squeeze those little ends together. There we go. Now I could have given myself another ½ inch of wire, but I think we're good. Once again, if it doesn't work the way I want it to look, I will redo it. But I think I'm good. I just need to make my little spiral. So I'm going to grab my pliers. Let's see here. Is this the top or is this the bottom? This is going to be where's the, I like my hook to go over the little tip. So that's going to be my hook. This is going to be my top. So let's go ahead and make my little spiral and see if I like it. So tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers, make a little loop. Just like I did on the hook portion or the loop portion. Okay. So wrap that around, the wire around itself. Come on. Work with me. Okay, and keep wrapping. Until I have a spiral. Let's push that down. I'm going to squeeze that together a little more. There we go. Push that spiral down against the wraps. Another little squeeze. Push that over. And just adjust it until it's sitting the way you want. Push that down against the other wraps. There we go. And then there's my little spiral on top. Still a little bit over to the side, I think. Scoot that over. There we go. And now it's time to make my little hook. Yes. Okay, so this is the top where my little spiral is. I'm going to bend my wire back right above where the wrap is towards my little spiral, just like so. Straighten that out, make sure it's nice and neat. Then I'm going to go down with my round pliers right here at the tip where it's folded, and I'm going to give it a little tweak back in the same direction. So just a little like that. So now this is what I have. And now I'm going to make my hook. So I'm going to go in with my round nose pliers, make sure that's nice and straight. About 1/4 of an inch away from where I've got the little bend, I'm going to bring my wire all the way to the back of my pliers, and I'm going to make a little turn, just a small turn, then open my pliers, reposition them, and turn again, and open, reposition, and turn. There we go. And there is my hook with my little spiral on top. Can you see that? Put it with my pliers. So there's my little hook, and there's my little shepherd's hook. Squeeze this together a little bit more, a little closer. There's my little hook. There's my little loop. There's my little clasp. There you go. Can't see it because it's laying on its side. There it is. Nice. Let's put it all together, folks. All right. 1, 2, 3. Yes, everything's on there. So my little infinity link, attach it to my hook, close it up. It was already open, in case you're saying, how did she get that on there? It was already open. Okay, go to the other side, open up my infinity link, which is actually already open, but whatever. Boop, that's how we open it. And attach the small loop to the infinity link. And close. And there we have it. There you go, folks. There's our bracelet. What do you think? Isn't that neat? I love it when things are just so above, just straightforward and above board. You do a couple little spirals. It looks like you work for hours. Let's put it on. Let's put it on. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, I meant to say, make sure that you're measuring as you go, because once you start making these links, it's really addictive. And you might just keep on going and keep on going and then realize, oh my gosh, I have too many links, which I have done. I mean, I have done it. But I know my students are very, very clever, and they just they're like earrings. I'm making earrings. Very smart. But here's my bracelet. Oh, I love it. Isn't that amazing what you can do with a little bit of wire, a little curly cues, and some imagination? Oh, I love this so much. Well, that's it, ladies and gents. That is our piece for the day. Let's get this out of my way. There it is, there it is, there it is. What to do with a focal piece that you usually would use on a necklace? You think it's too big for a bracelet? It is not. Oh, I love it. Okay. Those of you who get kits will get 20 gauge wire and a focal piece. Why? Because that's all you need to make this entire bracelet. You need 2 components, wire and 1 bead. I could stare at this all day, but I won't, and I won't talk your ear off anymore. So that's it. That is our piece for the day. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the one that you make. I really want to see pictures because every single one of you is getting a different focal bead, those who get kits. And those who don't have kits, I would love to see what you do with this because it's one of those free-form type things that you can make it your own so easily. And I would love to see your vision and your creativity. So drop me a line at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. You can also drop a comment and pictures at the library Facebook page. That's facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's spelled DEKALB LIBRARY. Or you can give me a comment at the library YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb Library. Please come and say hello because I love to hear from you and I love all of your feedback, good and bad. If it's bad, I just need to know what didn't work for you. Just let me know. I take all of that into consideration and I use it to improve my tutorials. Sometimes the lighting isn't great, sometimes the sound isn't great. lawn mowers, air blowers, leaf blowers, whatever. Sometimes those are the things that I have to contend with, and I do the best that I can. But I would love to hear what you think about my tutorials. Particularly, well, this one, I want to know what you think so I can know what improvements I need to do. So until next time, have a great week, have a great weekend, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.